There is a version of you that no one can reach. Not joked with, not manipulated, not controlled. A version that does not react when attacked, does not lose sleep over whispers in the workplace, does not need to speak, yet still makes others hesitate before you even say a word. Not this, but here's the truth. You were never taught how to become that version. Society trained you in the opposite direction. They told you, if you want power, you must speak louder. If you want respect, you must push back. If you don't want to be walked over, you must prove yourself. Sounds right. But what's the cost? You are burning the most valuable assets you have. Time, energy, and attention on people who don't deserve it, on situations that are beneath you. Every time you react to a provocation, you grant them leverage. Every time you try to explain yourself to someone who has no intention of understanding, you hand over your peace. No one took it from you. You offered it. Free? In 1513, Niccolò Machiavelli was dragged to the bottom. A prison in Florence, hung upside down, tortured, stripped of every ounce of power he had spent 20 years building. The world called him a failure. A man finished. But right there, at his lowest, at his most humiliated, he did not collapse. He wrote The Prince, a book that rewired how humans understand power for over 500 years. And what he discovered was not beautiful. You cannot become powerful by upgrading a weak foundation. If the root is fragile, everything you build on top will collapse. Not maybe, inevitably. So if you want real power, you don't improve your current self. You erase it, terminate it without hesitation, and replace it with an entirely different architecture. Colder, more selective, impossible to read. Today, this is not about motivation. This is a reset. 7 psychological laws, 7 layers of mental armor. And when it's complete, no one will be able to touch you the way they used to. The first truth, and the most ruthless one, you are not failing because you lack ability, nor because you lack opportunity. You are failing because you are living under an identity you did not choose. From the beginning, a script was written for you. Family, school, the people around you, they labeled you. Your ambition was called arrogance. Your difference was called instability. Your dreams were called delusion. Sound familiar? Niccolò Machiavelli understood this clearly. A lie, even when wrapped in concern, is still a cage. Soft, comfortable, but locked. And so you begin to repeat. The same pattern of anger, the same hesitation, the same predictable reactions. Then you tell yourself, that's just who I am. No, that's programming. Old reflexes, designed to keep you safe, predictable, controllable. And in the game of power, the predictable are the easiest to manipulate. Because when someone knows how you will react, they don't need to force you. They simply position you. Or 44 BC. Julius Caesar is assassinated. A vacuum of power emerges, and an 18-year-old Gaius Octavius steps in. No one saw him as a threat. The Roman Senate treated him like a pawn. Even Cicero said it outright. Praise him, use him, then eliminate him. If he had reacted the way they expected, anger, defense, argument, he would have been finished. But he didn't. He did something far more dangerous. He chose who he was. He took the name Caesar, declared himself the son of a god, and behaved as if it were already true. No permission, no waiting for validation. He simply embodied it. The result? He became Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, ruled for over 40 years, and lived long enough to watch everyone who underestimated him disappear. But the core isn't the name. It's what happens in the first 4 seconds. Whoa. People don't read your resume. They read your signals, your eyes, your reaction speed, the way you hold silence. Within seconds, they decide, do they respect you or do they use you? In 1968, Robert Rosenthal proved this. The Pygmalion effect. Label a group of average students as gifted, and they begin to outperform. Not because they changed instantly, but because they were treated as if they had. Expectation reshapes reality. So here is the law. Whatever you cannot walk away from controls you. The weak ask for permission to change. The powerful redefine themselves. The world will always try to assign you a role, smaller than who you are. Your job? Refuse. No explanation. No argument. No permission. Next time, when the old reflex rises, pause. Do not act from your history. Act from the identity you decide to become. Right now, drop a comment below. What is the first thought that just surfaced in your mind? We are living in a culture that worships noise. The loudest voice gets the most attention. The sharpest comeback is labeled strength. And slowly, you are conditioned to believe. Silence is defeat. Silence is submission. Wrong. This is one of the most dangerous traps. Your attention is the most valuable asset you own. Where you place it is where your power flows. When someone insults you, provokes you, pulls you into drama, they are not attacking. They are trying to take control of your state. And if you react, even to defend what is right, you confirm one thing: they are important enough to pull you down to their level. You just gave them what they wanted most: attention, something they never deserved. Strategic minds understand this. Not reacting is more powerful than any reaction. Why? Because the human mind runs on loops. When someone provokes you, they open a cycle. They wait for your response to close it. Untouchable. They want to see anger. They want to see explanations. They want to see you lose control. But when you give them nothing, no emotion, no words, no attention, that loop hangs, unfinished, unresolved. And that creates something far more dangerous: disruption. Now they start questioning. Am I being ignored? Am I not important enough for a reaction? What are they thinking? And in that moment, you are no longer the target. You become the phantom, unreachable, unreadable, and far more powerful than someone who ever needed to respond. While they burn energy trying to decode you, you lose nothing, not a drop. Louis XIV understood this. He didn't need to shout, didn't argue, didn't explain. He simply said, "I will consider." Not yes, not no. Just suspended. And the entire court lived in anticipation. No one crossed the line, because no one could predict him. That is power, not from words, but from controlled silence. Understand this. Every time you speak, you leak information, your reactions, your thinking patterns, your weaknesses, and others. Record everything. For free. From this moment, your silence must carry meaning, not avoidance. Not fear, but a statement. You do not exist in my world. But don't misunderstand. Silence is not magic. If you have no value, silence makes you disappear, invisible, ignored, irrelevant. So build your foundation first, then use silence with precision at the right time, in the right place. And when you do, it is no longer silence. It becomes power. My take on this law? It's brutally accurate, but incomplete if used blindly. Silence is not about saying nothing. It's about controlling when you speak and when you don't. Used wrong, it turns you into a ghost with no influence. Used right, it turns you into a phantom with gravity. People feel you, even when you say nothing. Now I'll flip it back to you. When was the last time you reacted and lost power because of it? There is a truth, wired into your biology. You cannot escape it. The human brain is programmed to respect what is scarce and to devalue what is always available. Familiarity breeds contempt. No matter how skilled you are, how kind you are, how valuable you are, if you are always there, always available, always replying within seconds, your value collapses. No one will say it, but it happens. Think of someone like that. Always present, always accommodating, always adjusting their life around you. At first, it feels good. Then it becomes normal, then predictable, then suffocating. You stop appreciating them, not because they lack value, but because the cost of access is zero. Your life is controlled by one invisible variable: access. Who can reach you? Who can enter your mind? Who can pull you out of your rhythm at any moment? The weak leave that door wide open because they want to be liked, to be needed, to be seen as good. But they fail to understand this. The easier you are to access, the easier you are to dismiss. Scarcity creates gravity. Distance creates respect. Boundaries create power. If people can have you any time, they stop valuing the moment they actually do. So from this point forward, you don't remove yourself completely. You control availability. Selective, intentional, unpredictable. Not to play games, but to establish one silent rule. Access to you is earned. And once that rule is felt, you are no longer just present. You become rare. Those with power think differently. They understand one simple truth. Access to them is a privilege, not a default right. At the highest levels, this is taken to the extreme. They choose isolation, not because they hate people, but because they understand focus is an asset, and everything around it is noise. Society tells you, no friends means failure. But reality, most circles, keep you exactly where you are. When you become more disciplined, more focused, start moving further. They don't attack you directly. They do something more subtle. They mock. They distract. They pull you back into your past, not because they hate you, but because they don't want to feel inferior. So they need you to remain your old self. Predictable, accessible, easy to pull down. A strategic mind cuts the noise, narrows the circle, controls access, protects focus at all costs. The lesson is simple. Withdraw your presence, not disappear, but become selective. Don't reply instantly. Don't rearrange your life for people who don't respect your time. Set boundaries. Clear, cold, non-negotiable. No explanations. Your presence is not free. It is a reward. And when you understand that, everything shifts. You no longer demand respect. It begins to appear. The distance, when used correctly, does not create separation. It creates value. The most dangerous trap is not weakness. It is the need to be understood. You keep explaining, clarifying your intentions, proving your goodwill, hoping others will get you. But the truth is, most people don't want to understand you. They want to categorize you. Fast, clean, so you can be controlled. Niccolo Machiavelli saw this early. In the game of power, to understand you is to control you. When someone knows your motives, they know how to pull you. When they see your weaknesses, they know where to push. And every time you explain, you think you're being honest. But in reality, you're handing them a map. A map that shows what you fear, what you crave, where you bend, all of it, wrapped in the illusion of openness. The weak beg to be understood. The powerful choose to be misunderstood. Every time you justify yourself, you are defending, and defense is a signal of uncertainty. Without saying it, you reveal, I still need your validation. Dobrnin dwa. Real power does not explain. It exists. Cold, clear, non-negotiable. As Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, men judge more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can truly perceive. They don't care about your inner truth. They care about what they can read. So give them less, not silence out of fear, but silence as control. Not distance out of insecurity, but distance as design. Because the moment you stop explaining, you stop being predictable. And the moment you stop being predictable, you become untouchable. The wise act early. The fool explains at the end. The fool uses words to defend himself until he is fully exposed. The wise fortify in advance with silence. The truth about people is not comfortable. Everyone operates in their own interest. No matter what they say, no matter how they appear, the moment you stop providing value, that understanding disappears without a trace. So explaining yourself to those who don't care is not just a waste of energy. It is a loss of position. The lesson is simple. Kill the need to explain. You don't owe anyone an explanation, not for the distance you create, not for the changes you make, not for the standards you raise. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call you cold, arrogant, distant. It doesn't matter. Those labels don't weaken you. They shield you. Because an enemy cannot strike a target they cannot locate. And when you stop being easy to read, you stop being easy to control. That is not cruelty. That is design. The reason others can provoke you is not because they are strong. It's because you lack structure, an internal architecture, solid enough not to be pulled. It has a name: emotional sovereignty. Yeah. Most people expose themselves without saying a word. Their face shifts, their voice cracks rhythm, their body leaks signals. They light up when opportunity appears. They collapse when things go wrong. They grow anxious when judged. All of it forms a pattern, repeating, readable, predictable. And once you are read, you are no longer in control. You become a reaction. In any psychological game, predictability is a fatal weakness. No need to attack. Just wait for you to reveal yourself. But emotional invisibility does not mean being numb. You are not a machine. You still feel. You still observe. You still understand. But you decide what is allowed to touch you and how deep it gets. Events still happen. People still speak. They still provoke. They still test you. But they no longer control you automatically. A strategic mind understands this. Control is not an action. It is an expression. You don't need to change the world. You only need to control what the world can read from you. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask you present to the world. But here's the difference. Most people are owned by their mask. The powerful design it. They decide when to reveal, when to conceal, when to remain still. Because the moment you control your signals, you control the game. And the moment you stop reacting, you stop being predictable. And when you are no longer predictable, you become untouchable. The shadow. The dark part within you. Your fears. Your hesitation. The parts you try to hide. If you don't master it, others will see it. And once they do, they will use it. No need for direct attack. They only need to press the right point. A calm face under pressure speaks louder than 1,000 words. It signals discipline, awareness, power. So the first step is not controlling others. It is facing yourself. Find the cracks. What makes you react? What makes you lose control? Who can pull you down with a single sentence. Then comes something harder: desensitization. When disrespected, don't get angry, get curious. When attacked, don't react instantly. Pause. Move. Create distance between stimulus and response. Just a few seconds. But in those seconds, you reclaim control. And when you stop reacting the way they expect, their entire strategy collapses. Not because you fought back, but because you are no longer operating inside their system. Most people fail, not because they lack effort, but because they build their lives on goals instead of standards. It sounds similar, but in reality, they are opposites. Completely. Goals live in the future, distant, abstract, dependent on circumstances. You will do it, will achieve it, will become it, but not today. Standards exist only in the present, in the decisions you make right now, in the limits you hold today. No waiting for inspiration, no dependence on motivation, only execution. One man says, "I'll read 20 books this year." Sounds impressive, but most times he reads none, then quits, then blames himself. Another sets a standard: 20 minutes every night. Not big, not flashy, but consistent and enough. Because it's no longer a goal, it's who he is. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He didn't write meditations in a palace. He wrote it on the battlefield, by the Danube, amid war, amid plague, not for publication, but to keep himself from collapsing. That is the difference. Goals chase outcomes. Standards build identity. And identity is what determines what you do when no one is watching. So if you want power, stop chasing distant targets. Start enforcing present standards. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. Not when conditions improve. Now, because the moment you operate by standards, you stop negotiating with your weaker self. Nom. And that is when real transformation begins. Every morning, he wrote. Not because of inspiration, but because of a standard. Niccolo Machiavelli saw this clearly. Great leaders are not the most talented. They are the ones who enforce the highest standards. Wisdom, talent without discipline decays. Ambition without standards self-destructs. Under Napoleon Bonaparte is the proof. Toulon, 24 years old, unknown, no power. But he didn't wait, didn't ask for permission. He saw a gap and stepped in, with preparation, with standards, cold, precise. Power is not given. It is taken by those who were ready before the moment arrived. So don't set goals for next year. Set standards for today. What do you tolerate? What do you reject? Train in silence. No one sees. No one applauds. No one cares. That is where real change happens. And that? Discipline in the dark. And when the results appear, they won't need explanation. They will speak for themselves. The final law is what separates those who perform power from those who possess it. Oh, sometimes the strongest move is no move at all. You were taught, always act, always respond, always shut down every rumor. No, but the truth is, every time you react, you spend energy, not for victory, but on things beneath you. Real discipline is not constant action. It is knowing when action is unnecessary. Which situations die on their own? Which ones deserve your blade? When someone speaks against you, you can explain, you can argue, you can try to clarify. But every time you do, you send a signal. It touched me. The most ruthless response? Do nothing. Keep showing up, intact, stable, unshaken, and let reality crush every false narrative on its own. No, this isn't magic. This isn't law of attraction. It's biology. Your brain rewires through behavior, through repetition, through what you consistently do. This is neuroplasticity. For when you hold a new response long enough, you stop forcing it. It becomes automatic. Silence becomes natural. Stillness becomes default. Control becomes identity. And at that point, you are no longer resisting your old self. You have replaced it. Yoda Costa, no struggle, no internal war. Just a new system, running in the background. So remember this. Power is not loud. Power is not reactive. Power is not desperate to prove itself. Power is selective, deliberate, unshaken. And the moment you stop reacting to everything, you stop being controlled by anything. That is the final shift. Not becoming stronger, but becoming untouchable. Your brain will rewrite itself. The old path disappears. The new path becomes the default. A different decision leads to a different action. A different action leads to a different result. Repeat it long enough. You don't just change behavior. You change reality. Niccolo Machiavelli lived this, exiled from Florence, reduced to a poor farmer. But every evening, he changed his clothes, not to impress, but to step into a different identity. He read, he wrote, he conversed with great minds in silence. That was not ritual. That was reconstruction, holding the mind together, keeping the structure intact. And from that state of stillness, he created something that reshaped the world. This is where you are heading, a state of being untouchable, not arrogance, but absolute self-sovereignty. When you no longer need validation, approval, attention, you reclaim all your energy. No leaks, no fragmentation, no external pull, undo, and that energy becomes armor. No words can pierce it. No betrayal can shake it. No manipulation can reach it. Not because you are stronger than them, but because there is nothing left in you that can be used against you. After hearing this, leave a comment below. What is your honest thought right now? At this point, this is no longer advice, not motivation. This is a choice. You can close this video, return to your old self, react the same way, explain the same way. Keep pleasing those who quietly use you. No one will stop you. Or you do what most never dare. Eliminate yourself. The safe version. The controllable version. The version that craves acceptance. Erase it completely. Untouchables, you don't evolve by trying to be better. You evolve by becoming someone else. Colder in thought, sharper in decisions, disciplined in action, and impossible to manipulate. Niccolo Machiavelli made this clear. The world does not reward blind effort. It does not reward uncontrolled kindness. It responds to one thing: power, and the ability to hold it. So, don't wait to change. Start now, tonight, before you sleep. Do one thing. Write down 3 questions. Who am I? Where am I going? And what do I refuse? Don't share it. Don't post it. Keep it private. Because real power does not begin in noise. It begins in silence. If something inside you just woke up, don't ignore it. Write this down. I have changed the way I see. And if you're ready to go further, subscribe. This is not the end. This is the beginning. I'll see you in the next video.